It's vaguely surreal. It's not like completely sort of what you call surreal, but it's got elements of that in it. If you're into like the classical stuff and everything, there's a Dante's Inferno, right, where there's the River of Souls, where all these bodies are like actually trapped in the ice, with their heads and arms all coming out of the ice, and I think it's Virgil and the guide showing him round hell, actually walking on the river and looking at all the souls, the eyes, looking at them through the ice, which is kind of interesting.
Eerie.
I showed that to Derek, who did. I've got this big illustrated thing by Gustave Doré of that, and it's got that picture in it. And I showed it to Derek, who does the artwork, and several years ago actually. And I think that might have been one of the origins of the idea.
Well, at this moment we're backstage at Donington. This is the dressing room area. All the porter cabins around us are where the band's accommodation are. Right behind us, to my left, is the Bailey brothers, who are the DJs, compares for the day. Over to my left here, we have Halloween dressing room. And if we move around the corner a little bit, we have Iron Maiden, I hope. Yeah, Iron Maiden over here in the corner. And for the first time this year, for the kiddies, we've got a little play area, swings and paddling pool, trampoline, things of that nature. Behind us, in fact, exactly in the direction I'm walking now, we're going towards the KISS dressing room area.
Achtung, Achtung.
We seem to have somebody talking German on the PA at the moment. I don't know what that's all about. Over to my right behind me is what we call the Colony Club, where basically the guests can watch on video what's happening during the day. If we move over this way, to my right, David Lee Roth area, who is not arrived yet. Didn't get in until, what, I think it was something like 10 o'clock last night on Concord. Over in the far corner, I would hope Guns N' Roses, and they're on the way in at the moment. What we should do is have a walk over to the Iron Maiden dressing room, and you can see what it's like. This is Iron Maiden's main dressing room. As you can see, it's quite nicely furnished. David Lee Roth, one member of his band, wants kosher salami. And it's a little bit of a struggle, obviously, being in the middle of Leicestershire, trying to find kosher salami. Not so bad on Stilton, but salami's a bit difficult.
Well, singing for Iron Maiden, obviously, where you have all these people coming to a concert, they pay all this money, they expect to see something like special, not just kind of T-shirt and jeans anymore. And the whole thing, I suppose, started with bands like Jethro Tull and, of course, with Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. We've actually got some of their stage clothes here, which I'm going to show you now, which is fairly interesting. As a matter of fact, the same woman who made this jacket, I bought this second-hand, made these trousers. These are actually Jimmy Page's trousers, as worn on all manner of album covers with the... I think it's an astrological sort of symbol or some form of occult symbol that means his name in some sort of letters. I mean, but you can see this symbol on the backs of kids all over the country who like put it on their denims and stuff like that, the same way that they put like Iron Maiden and things and everything. There's all these amazing jackets. I mean, they're really very sort of, you know, romantic and everything and silky and absolutely lovely. I mean, funnily enough, we could never wear anything like this because our stuff, we sort of run around so much that basically we have to wear anything that's stretchy, extremely washable, and we tend to just pick stuff up from wherever we find it. Going completely away from English heavy metal, which tends to be a little bit haphazard, as you can probably imagine, to the real glitzy glamour stuff. This is stuff from Kiss. This is Gene Simmons' outfit with this amazing pair of boots, which really look like they belong in a fireplace as, like, guards. Or just put them on the front gate and they'll scare away intruders. This is Gene Simmons' codpiece. I'm not going to attempt to wear this at all, except to say that we have discovered that it is, in fact, stuffed. I shall say no more. There are actually, codpieces are very popular. Codpieces started with Henry VIII and people like that, you know. A very popular thing, codpieces in those days. Whether it was to keep it warm or boast about your knightly prowess, I have no knowledge. But in rock and roll terms, I think it's purely to frighten young children. And Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull, with his medieval connections and things like that, when he was getting very woody in the old days, used to wear a codpiece while he was standing on one leg twirling his flute and everything, which I thought looked rather wonderful. It didn't really have any particular sort of sexual connotation at all. It was much more theatrical. This thing, on the other hand, I think is definitely designed, as we say, to strike fear into the heart of somebody. There is an apocryphal story, actually, about a chap called Blackie Lawless, who plays for an American group called Wasp, who supported us on tour. He has one of these things. It actually has a plastic chainsaw blade that comes out of the front of it. And he has a firework inside, which, at a given signal from the appropriate whatever, I don't know if it's operated by somebody else. I think he operates it himself. The firework explodes, so you get this tremendous kind of, sort of, you know, pelvic thrusting with this thing, and somehow up goes the firework. It's very spectacular. In fact, there is one case on record when it exploded the wrong way with, I think he had to be taken off to sort of, not quite intensive care, but care anyway, somewhere. So anyway, there's quite a difference, as you can see, between, like, the American stuff and the English stuff. I think the English stuff tends to be more, much more sort of haphazard, more romantic in a way. This stuff is much more sort of showbiz, I guess, really. And I think that's the that's the main difference. I mean, basically, English people just, like, mess everything up, you know?
Two distinct, different approaches. There's a lot more castles here. There's a lot more of that kind of history here. There's a lot more history, period, here in this continent than there is in the United States. In the United States, probably was based more on Dodge City. You know, the whole thing of the cowboys and the streets and the guy who stepped out of line. I mean, who started the whole United States was people who were kind of stepping out of line, the Pilgrims, you know. And that approach is very pragmatic, something that's very practical and day to day. And that's what I reflect around myself.
Do you regard yourselves as similar in any ways to any of the other bands on the bill, or do you think that you're completely...
Maybe only in attitude in some of them. I mean, Ross done all kinds of material. I like Kiss in their early days. I think the only thing that we have in common with Kiss now is that, you know, they like to make money and they like girls, but as far as their music go, you know, basically their music's like second fiddle to their other desires. Our music comes first.
Have you got anything in common with Iron Maiden?
I hope not.
Why?
I don't know, they're not, I mean, they're nice guys, but, you know, it's like political organizations, you know, your political thing. And your music or your album's kind of like your political stance. Well, theirs is completely different than ours, and I think theirs doesn't have anything to do with rock and roll as far as I'm concerned. We're a rock and roll band.
Yeah,
what they do is what they do. I don't know what it is, and I hope to never be like that. Hope it's not catchy.
Izzy, were you going to say something there?
No.
No. Don't you feel, Rick, that this goes somewhat against the idea of a rock and roll life?
Yeah, I always hated the rock and roll lifestyle anyway.
Why?
Well, it seemed to me quite dull, really. You know? So, I mean, I think there were certain aspects of it which were quite attractive initially. You can't do that now because you die. So, but all the drugs and stuff, I mean, I was never ever into that because I just had too much fun on my own without it. So, I'm having fun now, and that's great, isn't it? What are we up to? 142. I think I can honestly say my legs are going to fall off before my heart gets up to 150.
You have to be fitter being in a sort of hard rock or heavy metal band than in a pop band. I mean, do you think that people like Bros or as fit as this?
I have no idea. Don't take any notice of Bros anyway. As far as I can see, they don't actually do anything. Apart from stand around and look suntanned and put lots of earrings through their noses. I mean, that's about it.
This next song is about God, about the system of things, about getting to work on time, about paying your bills, about having feelings, about being kind, about not being kind. You know what I'm talking about? Julia! Well, for those of you that don't, we'll give you one more clue with the bass guitarist, David Ellison.